All right, everybody, welcome to the show. I have a weird one for you today. It's getting weird. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the World Cup in Qatar. It is a colossal disaster. It's kind of looking like the Fyre Festival at the moment. For those of you who don't know about the Fyre Festival, look it up. There's been a number of great documentaries on it. You're definitely going to want to check that out. So I also have Taylor Swift fans are now getting political. They have turned on Ticketmaster, which is a giant monopoly, which fucks over the venues and the artists and the customers, and they've had enough. The Swifties are revolting. So the Swifties are going to be welcomed into the political fold with open arms. Lot to say on that front. Then we also have Jon Stewart debates Hillary Clinton and Condoleezza Rice on foreign policy. Oh boy, that is a fun one. Later on in the show, we have Elon Musk versus Alex Jones. We also have, I'll tell you about Jack Smith. I know that's the world's most generic sounding name, but this is the guy who is the special prosecutor against Donald Trump. So it's pretty important that we know everything that's going on with this guy and what his record is, and whether or not it was a good idea for Merrick Garland to pick this guy. We'll get to all that and much more. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So what's going on in Qatar right now is kind of astonishing. They have the World Cup, and of course it was massively scandalous when we learned that they were going to get the World Cup, for obvious reasons. I mean, very authoritarian, theocratic regime. This is an attempt at sports washing to, normalize themselves on the world stage, and there's already about 700 scandals around this thing being in Qatar. So one of the things, this is more of a low-level scandal, but one of the things is that there were videos floating around on social media where people were pretending like, oh, look, all the England soccer fans are here, bro. And the video was of people chanting some shit, and it was clearly like not the right chant, or they weren't doing it the right way. So the criticism is, did you guys pay fans to pretend to be fans of different soccer teams? Is that really what's going on here? Everything is sort of like smoke and mirrors, and the comparisons that people are making already are to the infamous Fyre Festival. Again, for those of you who don't know, check out the documentaries on the Fyre Festival. It was that music festival from Ja Rule and some con artist that, it was the most obvious fraud of all time, and it was astounding how disastrous it was. So let me give you some more information on what's going on over here in Qatar. Qatar officials threaten to smash video cameras as fans begin to share the unfinished, cramped, and searing hot conditions inside the fan village at FIFA World Cup. So, as I'm sure all of you know already, it gets super duper fucking hot in Qatar. Well, listen to what they say here. Qatar is already in damage control as fans begin to upload footage of the hellish conditions that await in fan villages for the FIFA World Cup. With less than 2 days until the opening ceremony, so this article was from a few days ago, and the clash between the host nation and Ecuador, by the way, Ecuador won that game 2-0, the fan villages still resemble construction sites. Footage and images have shown piles of rubble, ripped up turf, and industrial machinery still on site at Raudat Al Jahaniya fan village, which will be home to thousands of England and Wales fans for the World Cup. Promised amenities like a fitness center, theater, and tennis court are also not present, according to The Guardian. So this picture right here, you have a Qatar official and security guard who threatened to smash a camera belonging to an accredited media team. There's actually, I think, a video on, it may have been BBC, may have been Sky News, of they catch this on video. And we're going to destroy the footage because it doesn't make us look good type stuff. Okay. So here you have one of the fan villages, $185 a night, and you can see the turf that they laid is just sort of like a fake grass rug, and stuff's already coming up. This looks more like a FEMA concentration camp than it does some amenity that you would pay for. Inside the cabins, tiny air conditioning units are unable to cool the space during the day and rattle too loudly at night to be used. This is what 185 pounds a night gets you in the Qatar World Cup fan village. Good luck getting any rest. The noise of the air conditioner that doesn't keep the container cool during the day helps drown out the rest of the racket, one fan posted along with video footage on TikTok. It is the latest black eye for the tournament, which has already attracted complaints over cracks and holes inside stadium grounds and a last-minute backflip to ban beer from stadiums that left fans fuming. Okay, so we're going to get to that part in just a minute, but they spent, what was it, like over a decade building this village, this World Cup village, and it's a mess. They didn't do a good job. I've seen estimates as high as they spent $200 billion building this thing, and it's a colossal fuck-up. So now, let me get to more of the restrictive stuff that's going on. So this is an article in NPR. Here are the things World Cup fans are restricted from doing in Qatar. The World Cup is equal parts sporting event and international celebration, and for many fans, alcohol plays a large role. That's been true in stadiums and in bars that open early or stay open late to show games. But the 2022 World Cup in Qatar is unlike any before it. Just 2 days before the tournament's first match in the Muslim nation, officials made this surprise announcement that fans won't be allowed to drink beer at the country's 8 World Cup stadiums. A reversal of previously announced policy. Alcohol is tightly regulated in Qatar, where customs agents are under orders to seize any booze visitors try to bring into the country. It's one of many cultural clashes and potential legal issues that fans might encounter in Qatar, particularly if they're traveling from more open societies. So, not only did they ban it, like they said here, they banned it 2 days before the tournament was supposed to begin. Beyond that, Budweiser had already sent in, like, millions of beers, and now it's just sitting in a warehouse, and it's going to go to waste. I mean, this is truly astonishing, a complete about-face. I'm sure there were guarantees to FIFA beforehand, like, no, it's cool, look, we're going to take the tournament, we're going to do the tournament, and we're going to go along with the customs of the rest of the world on this particular issue. And then, boom, they pull the rug out from underneath them at the last minute. For a sign of how dramatic the shift in Qatar is, consider that FIFA successfully pressured Brazil to change its federal laws to allow alcohol sales in its stadiums before it hosted the 2014 World Cup, overturning a ban that had been enacted due to violence at its stadiums. Quote, alcohol drinks are part of the FIFA World Cup, so we're going to have them. Then FIFA Secretary General Jerome Valcke said back in 2012, excuse me if I sound a bit arrogant, but that's something we won't negotiate. Wow. Okay. So also, fans face religious restrictions. Islam is the official religion of Qatar, and anyone found to be proselytizing for other religions or criticizing Islam, quote, may be criminally prosecuted, the State Department said in a fact sheet about Qatar for World Cup visitors. It's also not safe to assume you can practice your faith openly. Quote, Qatar allows some non-Muslim religious practices in designated areas like Doha's religious complex, but all faiths are not accommodated equally, the U.S. agency said. In addition to important restrictions on alcohol and pornography, travelers cannot bring pork products into the country, the State Department said in a video about Qatar's laws. Public speech is also limited. Qatar, turns out, not a very big free speech country. Speech that's deemed critical of the Qatari government could trigger an arrest. Those laws apply both to spoken words and social media. Wow. And while past World Cups have brought a heaping of angry, bargy scenes of rival crowds yelling or even singing obscenities at one another, open conflicts can bring big problems in Qatar. Quote, for example, arguing with or insulting others in public could lead to arrest. Sex and other social issues. Oh boy, here we go. Homosexuality is criminalized in Qatar. The State Department notes, advocates say that LGBTQ people in Qatar are subject to conversion therapy, harassment by authorities, and imprisonment. Wow. So there was already an issue about this. There were some players on some teams who were wearing like a rainbow patch, like a rainbow heart patch. I think it was some sort of solidarity with the LGBTQ community. And they were already punished for that. Now, I don't know. I think it was FIFA who stepped in and said, hey, man, you can't really wear that, or if they suspended them for a couple games or whatever. But disaster. Absolute disaster. And by the way, I'm saving the best for last. So you think this is bad? Wait till we get to the end here. Fans will need to cover up despite the heat. Qatar's oppressive heat forced the tournament to move from the summer to November and December, but fans who find it hot there should limit how much skin they show. Dress codes in many public areas require that, quote, both men and women cover shoulders, chests, stomachs, and knees, and that tight leggings be covered by a long shirt or dress, the State Department said. As with alcohol, clothing standards often shift according to the degree a neighborhood or venue caters to foreigners. Okay, so now I'll get to this viral video. So the Washington Post tweeted this out, but this was everywhere on Twitter. In a bizarre news conference, the day before the World Cup, FIFA president Gianni Infantino dismissed concerns about Qatar's human rights record, compared himself to marginalized people, and took aim at critics of the countries hosting the tournament. Okay, so I guess he was getting pelted with questions at this press conference. Hey, what about this bad thing that's happening? Hey, what about that bad thing that's happening? Hey, isn't this a big issue? Looks like things aren't going too well. And then he gives us this.
I'm European. Actually, I am European. Not just I feel European. I think for what we Europeans have been doing in the last 3,000 years around the world, we should be apologizing for the next 3,000 years before starting to give moral lessons to people. Today,
so people are criticizing the human rights record of Qatar and like the complete failure to this point of the tournament, the last minute rules changes. And he's like, bro, I'm European. Have you heard of like colonization much, bro? Have you heard of that? So before we criticize anybody, bro, we got to get our own house in order over here. What? What does any of that have to do with what's going on in Qatar right now? How they're fucking up the tournament and how they have incredibly draconian and primitive rules. He's just deflecting. It gets better.
I have very strong feelings. I can tell you that. Today I feel Qatari. Today I feel Arab. Today I feel African. Today I feel gay. Today I feel disabled.
What?
Today I feel a migrant worker.
Wow. So he did what was it, Bill de Blasio or Andrew Cuomo? They had done that speech before. Again, all deflect criticism. And doing it in this, like, super, self-filleting, bloviating way, right? Okay, hold on. But now, I left the most important fact for the end here. Revealed, 6,500 migrant workers have died in Qatar since World Cup awarded. 6,500. So, look, the gist of it is, you have all these like very poor workers who come from India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and they've been working on this for about a decade. So they have these basically this cheap labor come in, and they exploit them to the high heavens. I mean, honestly, you can compare the working conditions, the hours, the pay or lack thereof to slavery. So they work these people to fucking death in heat that's like 120 degrees. They don't give them adequate breaks. They don't give them adequate food and water. You have all these problems. 6,500 people have died so that Qatar can get the World Cup. And then when they get the World Cup, have things built in a shoddy fashion, have basically unlivable apartments for people who are staying there, have their draconian religious rules in place, ban alcohol 2 days before the World Cup starts. And again, the head of FIFA is out there, deflect, because again, ultimately, all that matters to these people is the money. That's all they care about. This honestly reminds me of every time the Olympics rolls around. You get some country gets given the Olympics, and they spend billions and billions and billions of dollars, and they think, this is prestigious, and this is gonna bring economic activity. And then when all's said and done, the Olympic villages are fucking abandoned, and you had like 10 billion, 20 billion, however much, 30 billion, 50 billion wasted that could have went to go and help the poor people in country X, whichever country gets it, right? And instead, we got this like big international show of fake legitimacy. And you had, of course, the people at the Olympics basically running the world's largest scam. I mean, consider the fact that so many people, so many of the athletes at the Olympics don't even get paid. They don't even get paid. And it's just like this international committee shakes everybody down. I'm sure with FIFA, it's the exact same fucking thing. And this is Qatar attempting to sports wash, and by the way, doing a fucking horrible job at it. 6,500 migrant workers dying as a result of your basically semi-slavery. All these draconian rules, so Jesus. As of right now, it's certainly looking like the World Cup in Qatar is a bit like the Fyre Festival. Disaster. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.